Well, I am very, very happy to introduce our speaker and our program today, Joe. Now, see, I've been trying so hard with that double Castillo will do our program. Many of you recognize the name. He's a columnist for Mid-Valley News. He also is an extremely busy man. He helps with the El Monte Historical Society. He is very active in the historical, I wrote it down, the Historical Savannah Memorial Cemetery in Rosemead. And he now is also a member of our organization. So please, let's welcome our speaker, Joe Castillo.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
It's great to be back here. Not only am I a member now, but I was a member before. I'd say about 10 years ago. So I docented over here in the museum, brought my two kids over here. We got community service. So I'm very familiar with this organization. The title, The Growth of the Fast Food Industry in Southern California. Okay, California got lost on this, but Southern California is really the birthplace of fast food. And we're going to go through that, and you might not have realized it, but when you go through this, you'll see, wow, it really did happen down here in Southern California. Sylvia's going to drive for me. Go ahead, just press the, there we go. I am sponsored, and I don't say sponsored, but these are the organizations I work with. The Mid-Valley News, and there's copies back here of the Mid-Valley News. I am a historical writer for the Mid-Valley News, as is Jerry, and we basically, I've been doing this for years. So since 2007, 2006, I've been writing historical columns of the San Gabriel Valley. So any kind of little topic that comes up related to history, I'll write about it. The Native Sons of the Golden West, I heard we have a member back there. I am with the Native Sons of the Golden West. I am a Grand Trustee. So statewide, I travel to different other Southern Cal Native Son parlors, and we talk about history, how to preserve history, how to basically present and preserve the history of California. I am on the Historical Preservation Foundation for the Native Sons of the Golden West. New historical organizations out there, or anybody who is familiar with any kind of historical preservation, we give grants out. Okay, so the grants can be anywhere from $1,000 to $3,000. If you have a project here in Temple City or in El Hamburg or anywhere else in Gordy, let me know. And if it's, I'll take it to the board, I'm on the board. And they're looking for grants down here in Southern California. So please, my cards are on the back. Take my information. There's all sorts of information on the Preservation Foundation. We're looking to preserve the history of California. Not just Southern California, not just Northern California, not San Francisco, not Los Angeles, all of California. So again, you're welcome to apply for any kind of grant. I'm on the California History Board, again, it's associated with the Native Sons. And everything is in the back, so if you want that information, feel free to pick it up. We're going to go through my introduction right now, the overview of the fast food industry, the history of In-n-Out Burgers, and I don't work for In-n-Out. I don't work for any fast food industry or company. I am a banker. This is my passion. History is my passion. And as you can tell, hamburgers are my passion. I love In-n-Out Burgers. And because I grew up with them, which I'm sure a lot of you grew up with them, 1948 they started, then you are familiar with their growth in Southern California. The other fast food companies, amazing how they grew here in Southern California. Again, what makes Southern California unique? Its weather, the number of people, its opportunities. It has been that way for years, and that's why businesses grew here in Southern California. And the industry today, so you're going to see how big the multi-billion-dollar company or industry has become. And any questions or comments that you have, because you guys, I'm sure, have all sorts of inside information that I don't even realize, that maybe nobody else realizes, but it would be, I'd appreciate hearing that or any kind of comments. Temple City proper, you guys have fast food, you have 11, you might have to click it, Sylvia, 11 of the top 50 fast food nationwide businesses here in Temple City. McDonald's, #1, Subway, #2, Starbucks, #3, Burger King, #5, Domino's Pizza, Jack in the Box, Little Caesars, Carl's Jr., Pollo Loco, In-n-Out at #44, Baskin Robbins, go backwards, please. These are the 11. These are in Temple City proper. So for a little city like Temple City, and I used to live here for 10 years, I got 2 brothers and a sister who also live here. This is pretty amazing. 11 out of the top 50 right here in Temple City. The definition of fast food, this is going to be pretty interesting. Food that can be prepared and served very quickly. Usually served in a store or a restaurant with pre-cooked or preheated ingredients and served to customers in a takeout package. Usually served via drive-in. The term was added to Webster Dictionary in 1951. So for roughly 60 years, fast food has been around. It hasn't been around forever, just since 1951, or at least the term. It's a culture shift in Southern California. The expansion, population growth, the expansion to the east, to the north, to the south, California, Southern California just grows, booms. And that expansion causes the whole suburban expansion, causes the whole growth, the whole family changed. Dinners were no longer eating at the table, they were eating on the road. Two parents had to work in order to keep the family going, so they brought home food. And the family's there waiting for the food, and that's how the fast food industry takes off. And you'll see technology changes, and the oil and auto industry conspiracy, which I'm not sure if you're aware of, whether it's even true or not, but there's a theory that the oil company and the auto industry got together to prevent mass transit in Southern California. They didn't want, like the East Coast, that had subways and rails and all the other mass transit means. They wanted it just to have cars and freeways.
That's what we got.
And that's what we got today. Now we're getting more rail in, but we'll never catch up to the number of cars. There was no more cars. There was more cars in Southern California than anywhere else in the United States. True. Right here. And you can see it on the freeways every single day. Harry Snyder. We're going to start again with In-N-Out. In-N-Out is such a unique business. And it's going to be hard to find another business in any other industry because they focused on one thing, and that was quality. So their quality, and we'll show you how that differs from the other ones, started with this man.
You're so clean.
Harry Snyder, born in 1913 to 1976. Harry's father immigrated from Germany. Last name wasn't spelled S-Y-S-N-Y-D-E-R, it was spelled S-C-H-N-E-I-D-E-R. And he comes over to the United States because at that time, World War I, there's tensions between Europe and America. So he comes over here not wanting to feel any kind of effect of that. He changes the last name and they settle up in Washington. And he basically, hard worker, kind of very, very resourceful. He is very skilled, but he doesn't have a certain set of skills. So he can do a lot of different things. He's just a handyman in a lot of different places. And Harry is born up in Washington, and he takes on the same attributes. He's not skilled in any one area, but he can do a lot of tinkering, and he eventually works at a naval yard, just a hard-working individual. And he eventually, and if you go to the next slide, this is Esther Snyder. Esther Snyder, who is his wife eventually, is raised in an educated family. I believe both parents are educators, either teachers or something in the education field. She also goes to school, and whether she becomes a teacher or not, that's kind of iffy. She did some teaching, but that's her emphasis. And they meet actually in a restaurant. Harry and Esther Snyder meet in a restaurant. Esther is the manager. Harry has made these little box lunches, like a caterer would make. And he would take them to the restaurant so that the restaurant could sell them. And he had done this for like 3 or 4 years and never talked to Esther. And finally, he got up the courage to talk to her. And he's 7 years older than her. And he talks to her, and eventually they hit it off, and they eventually go out and get married. And Sylvia, next one. They basically get married, go down to Southern California, they're living in Southern California. They have 2 sons by the name of Guy and Rich, born in 1951 and 1952. And the only thing that Harry could really do, because he didn't really have a good job, the only thing he could do at home well was cook. And he always was fiddling with recipes, always fiddling with new sauces for his steaks, and he could cook a heck of a hamburger. And everybody finally, we bring over the neighbors, they said, Harry, why don't you put this hamburger on the market? And he tried to open up some little hamburger stands, and They didn't quite take. They were missing something. But he kept making the burgers anyway, he tried to perfect them. So sure enough, he got together. He said, I'm gonna he started with a hot dog stand. Started putting out hot dogs. And he used this sauce that he was putting out the hot dogs with. Put that on the hot dog, and he started selling those. Well, soon enough, he added the sauce to the burgers, and the burgers he started selling, and he knows he's got to open up a restaurant. So if we go to the next one. They decide to open up the In-n-Out Burger. Again, this is not his first attempt. This is probably like his third attempt at making up a fast food stand. And he opens up the burger store, but he's got no money because he didn't have a job. And he goes in partnership with Charles Norton, who basically is providing $5,000 in cash for him to open up the stores. Harry provided all the labor, all the direction, all the recipe for the burgers. He did all the work. Charles Norton just counted the money. He basically invested, he wanted his money back, and that was it. In 1948, the first In-n-Out opens, Baldwin Park, and it was a very simple restaurant. And that's all he wanted, a very simple menu. Harry said, if you keep it simple and you do it well, you can be a success. Unbeknownst to everybody else, 20 years, 60 years later, that made a heck of a lot of sense because today it is a multi-billion-dollar company. Sylvia. He uses quality you can taste as his motto. Use fresh products, everything. Lettuce, tomato, potatoes, onions, freshly grown, delivered daily to the stores. Cut and prepared, cleaned, everything. Today it's the same way as it was in 1948. Service, in and out. You came in with nothing, you left with something. You left with a meal. And Harry was so smart, he timed it from the time you got to the front of that driveway at the In-n-Out to the time you got your burgers. He knew how long those burgers were going to take to cook, how long the fries would take to cook. He had timed it so well, you weren't going to be in your car for more than 2 minutes. You're out. That's what his whole deal was. No delay. It was on their initial signs. No delay. You come in, you put your order, you're gone. That's what their whole intent was. And it wasn't like McDonald's. The burger's already there waiting for you. It was made as you ordered it. And that driveway doesn't take 2 minutes to go down. He just had it down to such a key. The whole efficiency of the operation was so key in getting these people out. And he took pride in his company. The pride is probably more than anything in his employees, his organization, his business stance. It was all about pride. He brought up new innovations, which you might not realize. The first speaker box introduced in 1948. He was a World War II vet, and he did a lot of mechanical work in World War II as part of a serviceman, or being in the service. One of them was to work electronically on electronic things. And he figured out, you can talk in a speaker and somebody can hear it. But how does somebody talk back to you? Because they're not gonna, it's not an open line. He figured out that if he could talk through one speaker, he can receive the same voice back. He was the first one that developed the first speaker that could do that. That you can talk out and then in turn somebody can talk back to you. He developed a logo which he knew would draw in people to his stores. And if you look where the In-n-Outs are, especially the early ones, they're all located on primary roads, on major roads where today, or maybe 60 years ago, those roads didn't exist. Today, they do. So his first store is along the 10 freeway. He had some insight somewhere that they were going to build a major freeway through there. And because the culture of Southern California is already changing to a more mobile society, he saw that people would be driving by his store and eating food and taking it back east or down south or up north and taking their meal with them. So he comes up with a new logo, and the first logo is down here on the lower left, or actually the top, and then it just comes down to the new logo. Does anybody know where the arrow is pointing to? The arrow is pointing to pride. We take pride in our food. Here you'll find pride in quality. So it's pointing down at the store, and that's what he came up with the design for you. It also signifies you're coming in and you're going out. So he introduced placemats. And you see these all today. Well, I have. But anyway, when you go and you eat in the store, they give you placemats. He was the first one to come up with giving placemats out with your order to make it look like you were going to eat at home. Okay, so if you took it home and you had the food there, you could put those placemats out there. Or if you want to go in the park or whatever, he provided you placemats. Everybody just gives it to you in a bag today and you're on money, but he gave you placemats. And in 1972, he comes up with the cross trees, which is their symbol more than anything. In every store, there's cross trees. Where did the cross trees come from?
Hawaii.
1961 movie.
Yeah.
It's a mad, mad, mad world.
Oh, fun.
And underneath the cross trees was a treasure. In Harry's mind, underneath the cross trees, you'll find the treasure at In-n-Out. The double-double, the cheeseburger, the hamburger, whatever it was. So he took that from the movies and applied it to his store. Yes. Proverbs. After Harry passed away, his son, Rich, takes over the company. And Rich becomes more involved with being a good Christian. I mean, he becomes a born-again Christian, and he doesn't sell himself on that. And it's a very modest family. This family is, what comes first to the Snyder family was the business. I mean, it was family, and then the business was really about, this is what we do, and we don't want to bring attention to ourselves. We'll bring attention to our employees and to our stores, but not to the family. And it's a family-run organization. It is not a franchise. When we go through the whole number of top 50 companies out there, we're not going to go through all of them, we'll see the list. You'll see how this company is so unique. But he puts at the bottom of all his products, here we go to the In-N-Out, look at the bottom. There is a proverb there, and he uses like 7 proverbs. His favorite is John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish, but should have everlasting life. That is on most of his products, and whether it's the cup or the fry or whatever. But it's on nearly every one of his products. There's a proverb on there. So I'm going to pass a couple of these around, and you can look on there. Look on the back. Just a unique, you can pass it over there. Just a unique approach to, again, they're not selling anything, and they're not going in there and telling you about it. They just want you to think that there's something beyond really buying the burger. So it's a little secret message there, and it's on all the wrappers, all the fry boats, the milkshakes, the water cups. It's just something that if you go over there, not any other company does that, but In-N-Out decided to do that. Go ahead. And then there's the not-so-secret menu. So the regular menu, hamburgers, cheeseburgers, double-doubles, fries, drinks, shakes, that was the original menu in 1948. In 2014, that is still the same menu. They kept it simple. They didn't add chicken. When the beef industry went wild in the 70s, because there was a disease through the beef industry, the cow industry, and the price of beef went up, all the other fast food companies added new products to the menu so they could make money because beef wasn't selling. So they added chicken, they added salads, they added everything else. What did the In-N-Out do? Nothing. All they did, even though the price of beef went up, they kept the prices of their products the same, and they stayed with the same menu. Everybody said, that's crazy, they're going to go out of business. Did they go out of business? No. Because there was such a demand for their product. And their beef, that's a well-hidden secret. There's thoughts that they get the beef from Australia without the additives added to it that the American cattle makers or the beef manufacturing houses produce. It's questionable where they get their beef, but it's somewhere that is well tested. Whether it's from Australia or not, it just doesn't have the additives that a lot of the fast food companies get their beef from. So the not-so-secret menu has a double meat, so there's no cheese. There's a 3x3, which is, I believe it's 3 cheese and 3 beef patties. It's a step up in a double-double. The 4x4 is only 4 beef patties, so there's no cheese again. There's a grilled cheese, so there's no meat. There's the protein style, which is just no bun. I think there's meat and it's wrapped in lettuce, and it's just just that way, but there's no bun. And then there's the animal style. Probably the most popular, but not so secret, is the animal style. So it's onion mixed with mustard and pickles and grilled onion. So it's a different, you can put it on your fries or on your burger, whatever. It's just a different taste, but that's, animal style is probably the most popular. This is Replica Store 1B in Baldwin Park. This is it today. They're building it up, they'll open it up very soon, but we snuck through the fence and took a picture. So this is how it looked, and this is the first footprint of the In-N-Out. It's a small 200 square foot store with one driveway, and you would come up to the speaker and you give your order, and by the time you got to the window 2 minutes later, or because you had a line of cars in here, you had your burgers ready to go. Now look what's right behind it. That brick wall, that's the 10 freeway. He was right there. Matter of fact, the first store was built just a few hundred yards, or probably 50 yards to the south of this. It was built where the 10 freeway was, and they had to knock it down. So the state of California said, we'll give you this property in lieu of what property we're going to take away from you. And Harry said, fine. They made the decision, they went with it. And the original store, the second store was actually knocked down not too long ago, I'm going to say like 5-6 years ago. And then they're redoing this one at the same time. Yes, Jerry?
Joe, I remember the In-N-Out on San Gabriel Boulevard near the nursery. When was that built? Because this looks almost like it from what I remember.
Thank you, and then we'll get to that. We have
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Go ahead. This is the In-N-Out University and In-N-Out company store that exists at actually where the Snyders actually live. This is their site of their home. So the Snyders had a house, and this is on the north side of the the south side of the 10 freeway. So today it's on the south side of the 10 freeway, then you got the 10 freeway, and on the north side is the first In-N-Out we showed you. So the first In-N-Out, again, wiped out because of the freeway. Then the second In-N-Out was on the other side of the freeway, and this is where the Snyders actually live. So they live eyesight of their store. And that's how they kept an eye on what was happening in the store. They can see how many cars are coming in, they can see their employees working there, they kept track of it that way. And that way you basically, Harry could go there anytime. Esther could go there anytime that month. And that's part of the success of the In-N-Out. And here's store 1C. So, has store number 2 basically got too old or too small. Then they created this store, which is right next to the university and the museum. And it's a full, look at the footprint. It's changed now to not only a drive-in, but it's also a restaurant. And it's right there on Francisquito and, yeah, right off the 10 freeway. Go ahead, Steve. Here's store number 2 in Azusa. And notice now they have 2 drive-ins. Okay, the familiar red roof, the 200-foot store on the right, and the 500-square-foot storage section on the left. This is their second footprint. So they went from a single driveway to the double driveway. And why did they go double driveway? Because they were so popular. The single driveway, people were on the streets and around the corner. The double driveway, they were just on the street. They didn't go around the corner, but they were getting served faster. So figure how fast you had to serve to keep these guys coming in 2 minutes.
How many cooks?
Exactly. How big was the grill? I mean,
Yeah.
I think a crew is 8 people in a little store like that. You also see a walk-up window. They always have the walk-up window where you can go and order everything. Temple City, store number 13. Again, anybody know about store number 13? I was going to ask that question. This is one of the early stores, and you might not realize it. He puts it right on Lower Azusa. Lower Azusa didn't turn out as popular as he was hoped, but the theory was, because he was big into Irwindale Racetrack. On the way to Irwindale Racetrack, taking Lower Azusa, you're going to go by an In-N-Out. Stop there. And there's actually an In-N-Out. They actually placed an In-N-Out at Irwindale. The Snyders invested in the Irwindale Racetrack and actually put an In-N-Out there, even though it wasn't called an In-N-Out. The Snyders were running it. They had their folks running it, but they couldn't go by the name of In-N-Out. And it was some other burger name, but they actually had a stand name. And that's why the drivers would come to the Irwindale for the burgers. And here's store number 20 at the corner of Rosemead and Mission. Same double driveway, same style, same red roof, same walk-up window. Everything's the same. This is their second footprint that they established throughout most of Southern California. The Lost Store, store number 6, San Gabriel. 1951 it opens. And today it is a statue masonry business. It's right across from San Gabriel Nursery. The building is there. Charles Norton, who invested with In-N-Out back in the early days, decides he doesn't want to continue with In-N-Out, that he wants more production. He wants to raise the prices, more production, less quality. Harry Snyder says, no, people are coming here because of the quality. We're not going to raise prices. We're not going to make more money. We're not trying to make money. We want to serve a good product. So Charles and Harry have a difference of opinion. And what ends up is the stores being split. Half of them go to Harry, half go to Charles. One of the ones that goes to Charles is San Gabriel. Now, I'm very familiar with, because after it became Charles, and I'm not sure what he named it after the split, but it eventually becomes Bob's Beef Burgers. And as a kid growing up, it was right around the corner where I lived in San Gabriel. And we ended up just going there getting burgers. But as kids, we'd ask these guys, hey, he wants to sweep out the driveway, put the trash or anything, work for food. That's what we were doing. We say, hey, you got a burger, we'll sweep out your driveway. And sure enough, there were two managers there. Yeah, you guys can help us out by doing that. And so we ended up kind of working there for food, not for pay. But there was one time that both these managers were out at the same time. And me and my brother were just hanging around on our bikes doing something. And he said, hey, can you guys just man the fort while we go pick up something real quick? Yeah, you know, business was slow. It was a weekday during the summer, and you know, sure. So we're in there, and they're gone maybe 10 minutes, but for 9 minutes, nobody showed up. We're getting soda. Oh, this is great. This is good. And that last minute, here comes a drive-up guy. And we're like little guys. We could barely stand above the window. And they give us their order. We're like writing it down, and we'll get right on it. And I know we can't start, you know, we aren't supposed to cook anything. They said, don't cook anything. You can just take the order. So we took the order, and we're kind of waiting and waiting. This guy's looking at us, and we're kind of like fiddling around in there. And luckily enough, these two managers came back, or one manager came back, and got us off the hook. And I think we took the order, started cooking anyway. And I think the guy who's doing the order, you can see me and my brother ride out of there. And he's kind of like looking, where are those guys going? Where are they going all of a sudden? But it was fun hanging out there, and again, they treated us real good. And they told us the story. Aren't you guys? Because it was the same label as the In-N-Out. But the In-N-Out had a red label, a red bag, and again, they had the whole store on here. It wasn't the arrow that they had. Back in those days, they had the store. It was a red label for the In-N-Out. This Bob's Beef Burger had a blue label. The burger was exactly the same because the recipe between Charles Norton and Harry Snyder, they had to use the same recipe. They couldn't split the recipe. So everything was the same at the In-N-Out or any of Charles Norton's stores. Everything was the same except the price and the quality of the food. It wasn't fresh at Bob's Beef Burger. It wasn't In-N-Out. So, but everything else was the same. And so for I think the deal was $5 million. I think Harry Snyder bought out, or the split came, and there was a $5 million. No, I'm sorry. All that Norton wanted back was the stores and his investment. So I think it was only $5,000. And Charles Norton's 3 stores failed. One of them against San Gabriel. Harry bought back 2 of the stores to put them back into In-N-Out. But for $5,000, Charles Norton, who all he wanted to do was make money, he lost out on a $5 billion company, half of a $5 billion company, which is the worth of In-N-Out today. And it was probably the benefit of Harry Snyder, and maybe the company doesn't grow that fast if Charles Norton is still around. But the fact that Harry Snyder had it all to himself, he was able to build the company that he wanted. So this is, again, store number 6, and you can see the walk-up window right here on the left behind the statues. And if you go onto this property, you can actually see on the ground the arrows that direct you through the driveway. So I remember one primary front driveway, and behind that was a storage area. But again, it had a lot of business there that you didn't realize. I know we were there quite a bit. Jerry, does that answer your question?
Oh, yes, thank you.
Sylvia. Fast food pioneers. Harry Snyder, In-n-Out, Carl Parcher, Carl's Jr., Ray Kroc, McDonald's, Glenn Bell Jr., Taco Bell. All Southern California pioneers. All businesses grow in Southern California. Technology, John Simpson and Carl A. Swanson. Swanson Foods. They learned, Swanson is the first guy to come out how to freeze dry food. How to basically freeze it, put it in, make a TV dinner. That is basically accelerates the fast food industry, because now what is the fast food industry going to do? They're going to freeze potatoes, whatever, beef, whatever, and that's, use it in their store after they defreeze it, and then they're going to sell it. Did they In-N-Out do that? No. John Simplot, an amazing guy, an amazing business. He's the guy that basically first comes up with the technology to do the freeze drying. And today, well, even back then, he becomes a primary supplier of French fries from McDonald's, as well as every other fast food. But his conglomerate is just so huge. He is just an amazing man how he came up with this technology. Tommy's Burgers. They're going to the Southern California fast food companies. Tommy's Burger starts down on, go to the next one. Rampart in Beverly in Los Angeles. Charles Kolak's starts, he basically raises money from his, I think it was a 1929 Ford. He got a loan out of like $200, and he went out and he got some product, opened up a hot dog stand. Okay, so hot dogs are important here. Hot dogs are easy to sell. He gets a hot dog stand and he makes, let me see the amount here. Charles Kolak's at Tommy's Burgers starts on his first day of sales. He uses 1928 Ford as a storeroom. On his first day of hot dog sales, he made $8. In 1946, $8 is, egads, 10 times the minimum wage. Back in those days, I think it was 80 cents.
Oh, God.
Okay, he makes 10 times. And what does he decide? This is my future. I can make money here. In 1946, he opens up Tommy's. He's selling hot dogs, chili dogs, anything that his chili is the key ingredient here, okay? He puts it on hot dogs first, and then he sees the demand for hamburgers, so he starts doing that. Sylvia? This is his early years. This is where the line goes. Again, he's got the little stand on the corner. They're all swamped in this corner. He owns the whole corner. And there's a building on the right. They were also cooking burgers, Tommy's Burgers. And if you were smart enough and you'd gone to Tommy's, you didn't wait in this line. You went to that little place who nobody even knew about, and asked for your order there, and you got it way before this line could even get to the front. Again, he didn't have the property that everybody could just park on there. And this is a drive-through of a different sort. This is a human drive-through. You make your order and you get to the front and you're gone. But he eventually buys all four corners. And then he provided parking with everybody on it based on his sales. In 1968, he made $1 million. 20 years, he got $1 million in sales in 1 year. So amazing, from $8 in one day to $1 million in 1 year. Carl's starts as a hot dog stand. And he starts in Los Angeles, where we lost the end here. Here's his, I can't say that's him, but it's his early hot dog stand. Sylvia? And actually he turns it into, let's see, Carl's has a unique story also. Carl Parcher comes out and he works at his uncle's grain house in Anaheim. He comes out from the Midwest somewhere. Comes out here, he's working in the grain house and he's having a good time doing that. But he's homesick because he left his girlfriend there. So he goes back with his girlfriend. He gets married to his girlfriend. But he wants to come back to Southern California. So he comes back. The uncle goes, your job's gone. Sorry. So Carl says, okay, well, I got to do something else. And he basically learned about the hot dog stand when he was working with his uncle at the grain store, because they had to deliver grain to the bakeries that made the bread that went out to the restaurants. And he goes out and he says, well, why don't I try selling hot dogs, because everybody else is. goes out there and he borrows $211 on his Plymouth. He buys a hot dog cart, and on his first day of sales, he makes $14.75. Back again in those days, that's 14 times the minimum wage. Sylvia. Oh, okay. Using that as emphasis, as he makes $14, he decides to open up 4 stands. And open up 4 more hot dog stands, make so much money in 2 years, he can open up a hamburger restaurant. And this is it, Carl's Drive-In Barbecue #1 in Anaheim. This is the first store he opened up. Sylvia, if you go to the next one, this is it today. Even though they modernized it, that's the same site that he had the original place on. So Mr. Carl Karsher starts booming in the industry. Him and Harry Snyder, very good friends. Okay, so they talk a lot about the industry, where is it going, how do you basically run your business, what do you see in your business and problem in business. So Carl, again, is an Anaheim, Southern California native here. Sylvia. And here's McDonald's. McDonald's is an interesting story. And I don't know why my cows went, but they're disappearing. This is actually the McDonald brothers starting to Plains, Illinois. And they opened up their first hamburger stand. It's not really successful.
They started in Monrovia, at the Monrovia Airport in 1938.
The McDonald brothers?
McDonald's.
Patrick and his sons Richard and Maurice.
I was married into the family for 30 years.
Okay.
And I used to play with the boys when they were little.
And
Well,
that
I
building,
love this. It would make it concept.
and that building was moved from Monrovia to what would now be the southwest corner of 14th Street and E Street.
In San Bernardino.
And it was torn down in early mid-60s, and because the city of San Bernardino wanted more upscale people to listen to opera, so it became an opera house. That flunked. So with a little help from Neil Baker, another hamburger pioneer in the Inland Empire, forgot, they sold that property to Albert Okuna, O-K-U-N-A, the founder of Juan Pollo fast food chicken restaurant. Not El Pollo Loco, but Juan Pollo. And that's their headquarters, Juan Pollo restaurant headquarters, the same site today. And over the junction of McDonald's headquarters in Oak Brook near Chicago, they, Albert, with a little help from Dick Mack, started an unofficial McDonald's museum. And like one half of the building, the other half is the Juan Pollo headquarters. That's still at the same site, 1398 North E Street at 14th at E Street.
Okay, let's talk after and we'll go over it.
Sorry about that.
I have never found that anywhere, but the history that I got, so the McDonald's that starts in the Plains, the McDonald brothers, Richard and Maurice McDonald, starts in Illinois, and they're not really making a success of it. Again, they start including hot dogs in their menu. They move to hamburgers, but they're not making a whole lot of success. And then they decide to shift. Let's go over to California because everybody's out in California. So they move to San Bernardino, and this is just a picture of the one that's in San Bernardino. This is before the gentleman here said that it moved from Monrovia, correct?
That's where it started.
So this is a replica or a picture of the one in San Bernardino. 15-cent McDonald hamburgers by the bag, and I'm sure in the early days, I remember when they were 15 cents, especially eating them. But back in those days, that was so. This is a picture of the first McDonald's. Actually, it's number 2. So number 1's in Illinois, number 2 is in San Bernardino, and then Sylvia. Then they opened up store number 3 in the city on the corner of Florence and Lakewood in the city of Downey. Okay, and it still exists today. The double arches, a walk-up. There's no drive-through. It's just a walk-up store. So this still exists today. And you go down there, you can order burgers. You can park in the lot. You can do anything. If you go to the next picture, Sylvia, they have a 60-foot sign. McDonald's Speedee burger sign still there on the corner, so you can't miss it. It's a great little place. They have a museum and everything there, so it takes you way back in time. Again, this is the third McDonald's, and the first one that's really built in this style in Southern California. So, and the deal with Ray Kroc, so the McDonald brothers own it, And Ray Kroc is a salesman for multiplexer mixers. And multiplexer designs a mixer that can actually make 6 shakes at one time. Before it was just a mixer that can do 1. So Ray sells them basically a mixer that can do 6. And he sees the McDonald brothers, because the McDonald brothers at that time, they had figured out how to do high production hamburgers. So it wasn't made to order. It was made at a high rate of production, and then the customers would come in and you just sell what you just made. And so they learned that, the high production, and they were using basically frozen freeze-dried products, so they didn't need the fresh ingredients. Their costs were low, but they were making money by the sale. And which is the same thing that Charles Norton wanted, to get into that kind of mode, high production. And so Ray Kroc is basically selling these mixers, multiplexers, or multi-mixers, to the McDonald brothers, and he sees an opportunity there, and he keeps hounding him and hounding him. You know, let's go partners, let's become partners. And eventually, they sell out for $2.5 million, $2.7 million. In today's world, they basically, in today's billions of dollars of McDonald's, they kind of, but again, back in those days when they sold out, they made money. Kentucky Fried Chicken. Maybe the only one that did not start in Southern California, but it booms in Southern California. Because why? You get a bucket of chicken and you can take it anywhere. You can take it to the beach, you can take it to the park, you can take it home, you can take it anywhere. Okay, unlike everybody else who's selling burgers, KFC is selling chicken. And it becomes the #1 chicken fast food. It becomes a very portable dinner you can take, or lunch, or anything you can take anywhere. And they grow and prosper here in Southern California. They just boom here. 1952, it starts in Salt Lake City, and they basically expand throughout the United States. Eventually, KFC is sold to a bigger company, and it might have been PepsiCo. And the one thing with the sale, Colonel Harlan Sanders, his image was sold. So how many companies do you know that there's an image of that person or someone on their business? This might be one of the few. So he could not use, he was hired by the company afterwards, the director of quality assurance, but he couldn't use his image anywhere else. He couldn't promote anything, he couldn't basically use it except to promote Kentucky Fried Chicken. Taco Bell. There's a very interesting story with Taco Bell. Taco Bell started in San Bernardino, just probably a mile and a half from the McDonald's store in San Bernardino. And when McDonald's opened up the store in Downey, what did Taco Bell do? They opened up a store a mile and a half away from that McDonald's store in Downey. So this is the original Taco Bell in Downey in 1961. Opened by a man by the name of Glenn Bell Jr. He basically, he had a unique story in that World War II veteran, as a U.S. Marine, he had sold and opened another hot dog stand, and he was selling 19-cent tacos. And then he bought, in 1954 to 55, he opened up Taco Tia and El Taco, and he was basically had an assortment of taco restaurants, or I'm sorry, Mexican restaurants. And then he eventually opened the Taco Bell. And so if you go to the next one, this is the Taco Bell today, at that same location. Seafood and tacos roll, same arches and everything. Across the street is another modern Taco Bell, but this is the same site. And again, they don't have the same Taco Bell menu, but they have actually a pretty good menu. So the original building is still there. Their Wienerschnitzel. It does not mean hot dog. It's a Viennese sausage, or veal plate. And got to start right here in Wilmington, Los Angeles in 1961. And they have since dropped so it is now Wienerschnitzel. Again, a drive-in, similar to an In-n-Out stand. I mean, same kind of front there. And today, here's the original location. This is the store today. Changed the sign. You got the single drive-through. Again, they're all signed. This is the only hot dog fast food that stayed a hot dog. All the other hamburger ones started as hot dog, went to hamburger, with the exception of Kentucky Fried Chicken, who just stayed with chicken. Sylvia. And here it is today, the red roof, A-frame. This is the style that you see today most often. This is the most popular of the Wienerschnitzels. Subway, El Pollo Loco, Shakey's, even though Shakey's isn't pizza, it is a fast food, and Starbucks. These are the latest, the new ones. Again, the industry is booming, and our definition was the food that is prepared fast and basically has a way to get it to you real quick or the drive-in. But this is all comes under the fast food industry today.
Joe, out of all the ones you mentioned today, is In-N-Out the only one that's not a franchise?
Yes, and we'll show you the list at the very end. It's the only one that's family-owned,
Thank you.
which again makes it so unique. In-N-Out ownership. Guy and Rich. Guy is the older son. He is more, he is not business-oriented. He is much more, eventually he gets into drugs. He is into fast cars. He's into an unstable kind of life, using the successes of his parents to really enjoy a high-style life. Rich, the younger side, is more like his parents. Hardworking. He is very, very friendly, very positive. He's the one that drives the business after the father dies. He's the one that takes over as the president at 20, I believe he's 25 years old. 25 years old without any kind of college degree, without any kind of experience in the other business world. His experience is based on what he knows from In-N-Out. And he just stayed with what his father and mother taught him to continue the business operation. Family owned. Today it still stays in the family and will still go to the current owner. But it is something that once Harry Snyder and Charles Norton split up, Harry said, I will never, ever again have a partner. We own this till the end. And today, it is still that way. Growth, they've expanded to 5 states, Arizona, Nevada, New Mexico. I mean, just the western states, they haven't gone anywhere else, but it's 5 states. They have an in-house university where they train their employees. Their priority is their employees. Without good employees, you will not produce a good product, and that was their whole emphasis. The In-N-Out associates are the highest paid associates in the fast food industry. And they were the first ones to actually take that path. Again, a unique industry. In-N-Out Foundation, so they basically donate quite a bit to charitable organizations. They have their own foundation that and they were really big into children's charities, so they collect a lot of money for that. And they have an In-N-Out store right there in Baldwin Park, so you can buy any kind of In-N-Out shirts, memorabilia, anything you need there, they sell here.
What's the hidden menu?
Well,
Hidden menu?
yeah, that was the not-so-secret menu. That's the animal style, the grilled cheese, yeah, and going back to the hidden menu, they had a double-double as 2 cheeseburgers or 2 patties with 2 pieces of cheese on there. What is the most that they've ever put under one burger? Is it 3x3 or 4x4?
6x6.
6x6, anybody else? It's amazingly, it's 100 by 100. There was a fraternity back somewhere that basically said, we would like 100 by 100. And so they made it, and the fraternity, basically, it went after world record or something, and they shot it down. But the cost on that 100 by 100, $97.26. So, think about it. You get 100 burgers, except you only had 2 pieces of bread. You had 100 meat patties. But they cooked it up and they served it out there, and I'm sure it was a surprise to everybody, but that was their record that they produced. So yeah. This is the current owner. This is Lynsi Torres. It is now Lynsi Snyder. She's been married 3 times. I don't think she's 30 yet, but she might be, because when she's at 30, she receives the whole business. But I think when I did this 2 years ago, she had yet to turn 30. So she was only, I'm going to say like a 3rd owner at that time. She has no children. Okay, she is the daughter. I don't believe she has any children. I think they're her stepchildren. I don't think she has her own children. She is the daughter of Guy. Now again, Guy was the one that got into drugs. He was the automobile guy. He was the one that was more wild. Of the 2, he was the wild one. She is now the current owner. Now she is vowed to keep this a family-run franchise. Now the question and the big concern is, where's the family? I mean, there's nobody after you. There is no heirs. So, again, she's divorced 3 times and she's going through a divorce right now. That's the 3rd divorce. But if she does get married somewhere, that's going to be a lucky spouse somewhere, because $5 billion, that's a lot of money. Now, how that works out, I don't know. I don't even know what happens again, what happens if she passes for whatever reason now? Her uncle, which was rich, passed away in a plane crash along with 3 other executives back in 91, I believe. And 96, the brother passed away, and I want to say it was drug related. Okay, so she remains as the lone heir to this fortune and this one of a kind.
It was tragic.
Yes.
Because she was so young, but at least she had a grandmother.
Yes, and the grandmother nursed her through a lot of that. But again, the grandmother's gone too, so it's a fantastic organization, and they're worth billions. But again, where is the succession on this? And I'm sure there'll be some kind of legal rankings over where it's needed. Here's today the current rankings of the fast food industry, and actually as it was in 2012. McDonald's far and away number 1, 35 million in sales. 35,000. That's actually 35 billion in sales. That's in millions. And look at how many units. The third column over, they have 12,000 franchise units across the United States. Okay, if you drop down to number 44, In-n-Out. Only half a billion, I should say, sales. But look at the big 0 in the number of franchises. And the key stat is column number 3. At the very top, McDonald's makes $2.6 million per store in sales a year.
Per store.
Look at In-n-Out's, $1.9 million. They are right behind, they are less than $500,000 behind McDonald's with, I don't know, they only have 280 stores. They basically have 1,500 stores less than McDonald's. And yet they're making nearly as much per store as McDonald's is. So it's just an amazing business how you have so few stores making so much money per store. And they only, basically, it's a drive-in. I mean, they only have like 50 stores that are considered restaurants. Everything else is drive-in.
What's the number 9, Chick?
Chick-fil-A, that's and it's not really, it hasn't come out here a whole lot, but it's out here in like in Rancho Cucamonga. Azusa's got one now. So it's past KFC is it's fast food chicken, but they make their chicken a little different than Kentucky Fried Chicken. And I'm not sure how they do it, but it's actually a healthier chicken. And it's one of the newer fast foods that are out there.
Oh my.
And again, the chicken, folks feel that chicken is more healthier, and it probably is. And that's why sales are booming with Chick-fil-A. And so overall, Southern California, you can see where the fast food industry not only grew and developed and started here in Southern California, but it also boomed here in Southern California. And again, you can mirror that up with the population, and the population growth of Southern California did the same thing. It was based on the growth and the popularity of Southern California. In-n-Out, one of a kind business. There is very few other fast food that has fresh ingredients, and they basically are built on quality, not service. The associates are trained to look you dead in the eye, to be cordial to you, courteous. Harry Snyder, customers are always first. First one to coin that. Fast food pioneers, Carl Parshire, Harry Snyder, Glenn Bell, and Ray Kroc. Okay? Those are the guys who caused those fast food industries, and especially here in Southern California. Those guys drove it here, and lo and behold, we have what we have today. And today's billion dollar, I should say, industry is growing so big, you see it everywhere. Especially if you're traveling up I-5 or 99. Every 30, 40 miles, there's basically a exit there that has nothing but fast food stores. So, Sylvia, I'd like to thank you. I appreciate your time, and I hope you enjoyed it.
All right.
What about these gourmet fast foods that are in gas stations? How is that doing?
I don't know. I haven't seen that on the list, and again, I only see the top 50. But again, you could have a Taco Bell at a gas station on there, so I think that comes on.
The one of 2 that's in California. And could you believe it? We're buying it on $3.95. Is the gourmet, and I mean it's gourmet.
Really?
And it's produced right there at gas stations. And I don't know. I haven't heard anything more since that article.
No, you enjoy. Yes, sir.
In all the years, 50 years that I've been eating their hamburgers, and I've eaten a lot of them, I've never had one rude employee of In-N-Out. Always nice people, greet you, and never a harsh word, and always friendly. And I'm wondering what their philosophy is on owning the property where they have the restaurants. Do they lease it? Do they own it outright, or what do they do?
That's a good question, and I don't really know that. I know they have certain demands on their footprint in terms of what they're going to be able to do with that property.
Yeah.
And I know early on they bought the property. Whether they continue that as part of their trademark, I haven't, or as part of their business, I haven't seen that.
Yeah.
Whether they own the property or lease it out, but I'm going to think they have pretty big ownership in it because they don't want to be. I don't think they've ever moved after the breakup, after the Charles Norton breakup. They never were closed down and In-N-Out and moved somewhere else. You see that at McDonald, you see that at all the fast foods restaurants. You'll see an old one that looks like it was there, what was there at one time, especially Taco Bell, and they moved somewhere else. But In-N-Out has maintained every store that they've opened. And their marketing, wherever their selection, what do they call that? Their geography selection, where they pick the stores, became part of their marketing. So they picked stores that were along major roads. They picked stores that were on places where people would see them. And they continue that today. So it's just an amazing part of their marketing that they're able to select places that they won't leave, that they're going to be there for a long time, and that people will become familiar where the In-N-Outs are.
There was an In-N-Out in Arcadia that opened up next to a car wash. So
That's not the one on First Street or San Diego?
Huntington Drive,
Route 7?
where the trade wrecks go.
Okay.
Santa Anita.
Didn't count the official handout.
It was.
Yeah, I think it was, I know
You're much better than Huell Hauser, but when I was watching his show, he was showing the trucks coming in from Harris Ranch. That's where their beef was coming in from.
Yeah. Good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's take a question.
Is Carl Archer still with Carl's, or is it combined with something else?
Carl's Jr. is his own company. It sold out to a higher company late in his career, but they maintain the the Carl's Jr. brand on there. But somewhere down the line, he had some financial issues to deal with, and he basically sold it to another company. And then he passed away, but the company stayed basically running.
And then he has passed away.
Yes.
Yes.
I think everybody, I think all the pioneers, Glenn Bell Jr., I think was, or actually the guy who owned the Wienerschnitzel, was the last one to pass away. But most of these pioneers, you're talking 60 years ago. So they had to have been in their 20s, 30s when they first started, so they're getting up there in age. Thank you.
I neglected to introduce Sylvia. That's why I'm sorry. I loved it, and aren't you hungry?
That was a great presentation, and we thank you for presenting it. You learned, I learned a lot at least. And after the meeting's over, then any questions, I'm sure you'll stay around to answer, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
This presentation, you said you didn't want him, but this is a donation to your favorite.
Great.
And thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.